over Broadway.
Happy Hanukkah.
I'm so glad we didn't talk about how we were going to start this. I was going to say, welcome to our Christmas episode of Bits Over Broadway.
I thought you were going to scream Merry Christmas, so I wanted to come in and undercut you with a different holiday.
Rude of you to ever accuse me of screaming on this podcast, which I never have done and I never will do.
Never, ever in your life. Thank you.
That's right. It's a Christmas episode of Bits Over Broadway.
Bits Over Broadway.
And that's not exclusive. It's just literally coming out on Christmas.
Exactly.
We're not trying to shame anyone or make anyone feel unincluded.
Right. Though we are talking about a Christmas show.
Well, it's Christmas Day today. Everyone has
the day we are recording
opened up their gifts. They've had their Christmas breakfast.
Grandma's drunk on eggnog already.
That's right. It's solidly 3 p.m. You've had enough of your family. You're sitting quietly in a room where other people aren't, and you're just trying to escape. And now we're here to help you do that.
Hey, it's us.
Hi,
it's
guys.
your best friends.
We have a very special guest today.
Of such a special guest.
And you've heard us reference this guest on mic, but
talk about him a lot.
They've
He gets
never
really
been
mad
on the
at us.
mic. So we said, get on the mic. It's our sound engineer, Mitch Lightshoe.
Hi, Mitchaman.
Hey.
Oh boy. Hey Mitch, can you get a little closer to the mic? Sorry, it's just kind of hard to hear you. And since you were critiquing somebody's mic technique,
couldn't be me.
It certainly wasn't. I believe he was going to give you an award for your mic technique.
Were I to give an award for best mic technique in 2019, it would be Connor. Yeah.
I would just like to thank the Academy, first off. I don't know what Academy, but I'm
the Academy of Podcasts.
Yeah, thank you.
So we've had a little Christmas cheer ourselves, by which I mean a plate full of meats and a lot of whiskey.
So a lot of whiskey, a lot of charcuterie.
Oh, and gin. Mitch is sipping on gin.
Every time you hear a little clink of the glass.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a little ASMR for that.
Oh, yeah. Hear those tiny cubes.
That is Christmas cheer.
That's Christmas cheer, baby.
And that's what we're here to deliver. Today we decided to go a little off book.
Just a little bit.
Just a bit. And we're going to talk about A Muppet Christmas Carol.
You guys, it's A Muppet Christmas Carol. It's our very first movie musical ever.
Yes. There are so many options for Christmas musicals.
So many.
Yet we decided to go with what we decided during the watch is not even really a musical.
Hardly at all a musical.
There certainly are songs.
Definitely
Which led us
songs.
to the question, what makes a musical a musical? And Connor came up with...
My theory is that a musical is any play that, or any
piece
story,
of work? Story.
that the plot depends on the music.
Right. It's moving the plot forward.
Yes. Well,
or no.
That also gets into the whole, like, before Rodgers and Hammerstein, the, like, plot didn't really... The music didn't really move the plot along.
Where was it? Where? Who?
Right. I mean, let's talk about No Nanette.
I mean, the Nanette of it all.
The No Nanette of it all.
And I won't, and I've told you that.
I know, and I never will either.
Yeah,
Jim Miller, you heard it here first.
We decided to watch the 1992 classic Muppet Christmas Carol. Now, Connor,
I'm doing everything I can to
just really clanking.
To really clink these ice cubes.
Connor, how old were you in 1992 when this film premiered?
I believe I was about 4 months old. Wait. August
December 11th, 1992.
August, September.
Wow.
Yeah, I was about 4 or 5 months old.
Incredible. I was just over a year, and Mitch was almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is a film we grew up with.
But the fact that it's from, I mean, we kept talking about this a bunch as we were watching it. It's one of those movies that looks, you can still see that it's kind of made in 1992, at least in terms of how it's shot, the use of CGI or lack thereof, kind of all of that.
Yeah, it's very, the things that were CGI are like the beginnings of CGI, like the very 90s versions of CGI.
For sure.
CGI.
And I don't think it takes away from I don't think it's so bad. I don't think it's like such early CGI that it is distracting.
I would actually argue that that it helps the story or improves the story.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So we don't necessarily have facts and figs, but some fun facts, or less than fun, I guess. This was the first Muppet movie post Jim Henson's death.
Which was in 1990, right?
Yes, I believe so. Production following Jim Henson's death in May 1990. Yes.
She's read a biography.
His son Brian was approached with the idea of filming an adaptation, and this was also post Richard Hunt's death. He died 11 months before the film's release. Yeah. But other than this was the first Muppets film to be released theatrically since 1984's The Muppets Take Manhattan, and it was the first Muppets film to be produced by Disney. Who eventually acquired the Muppets property in 2004.
Which they still own today.
Yes. Which is interesting.
Yeah. I'm really interested because we are recording this in the heart of the fervor around Baby Yoda. I'm really interested.
We're deep in Yoda love.
Baby Yoda fervor right now. He hasn't been milkshake ducked yet. We don't know.
Baby Yoda, who I'm told is not a baby Yoda.
No, because the series takes place after Yoda's death.
Yeah. He's just a baby of the species Yoda.
But we don't know his name, so everyone calls him Baby Yoda.
I think they call him the child.
I mean, in the show that he's the child,
but to us on the internet, he's Baby Yoda.
That's just Baby Yoda.
He's very small.
Baby Yoda, baby Yoda. I love it.
It's very good. Bringing it back to Muppets, we were discussing the benefit of puppets
and practical effects
and why Baby Yoda resonates, I think, with so many people is that he is a puppet. He's not CGI. He's not an animation.
He looks tactile.
Yes, he is able to articulate his movements, and he it just looks not real, because Yodas don't look real, but yeah, there's something 3-dimensional about it that
absolutely
makes you want to squeeze it.
I also wanted to say, because Disney Plus already has some Muppet content. It has Muppet Christmas Carol. It has Muppet Treasure Island. I think it has Muppets Take Manhattan and The Great Muppet Caper. I'm really, really interested to see if they're ever going to release the Muppet Show.
The Muppet Show,
because those have only ever been available on DVD, and that is such prime comedy,
right?
Yeah,
that people would love to see.
Oh my god, the Muppet Show's so good.
So good.
If you haven't seen it,
Pigs in Space,
Google YouTube Muppet Show sketches. They're so funny. So if you haven't read A Christmas Carol, I have not. Mitch, you're sort of reading it.
When we were talking about doing this episode, I started reading it, and unfortunately, I just ran out of time. I was.
We all went into this knowing that this was going to be a dumb thing.
And then this guy's trying to bring some semblance of academia to it.
I didn't even do facts and figs. I didn't even write them down or look at the Wikipedia.
She's out here reading the book. Damn.
No. Part of that, though, was there are multiple jokes in this movie where they talk about bringing culture to people, or about how they're it's Dickens.
It's culture for the kids.
Right. Part of me wanted to go back to the original text and just, find it online. I don't have to even Amazon anything. It's online, and you can go find it. So why not try to read it here and there when you have a minute? So that's why I tried to read it. But what I feel like I found in reading it somewhat was how easily adaptable it is to a Muppets formula.
Right. Yeah.
I know the one that just really, really, really stuck in my brain, especially because it's so early on, is there's more of gravy than the grave about you. Yes. Like, it sounds like a Waldorf and Statler joke, but that's actually Dickens' text.
Dickens. It's so good. And we've talked about this while we were watching it, but I fully think that this is the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
That has been done in
media. The millions that there are.
Yeah, because there was the animated one with Jim Carrey a couple of years ago. There's the one with Patrick Stewart.
There's so many.
It's been done in television.
So many adaptations times. Of it, but every single one that I see, apart from maybe the Disney one, because Disney did do an animated version adaptation.
Yeah.
But the Muppet one is just it kind of captures the idea that Dickens was he was very funny. There's jokes, and it's not this serious morality tale. Well, it does tell a tale about morality and ethics.
Sure.
It's not this serious, scary story that it has turned into.
Right. It's not so foreboding.
Well, it's kind of that I don't know if it's a trope now or not, but taking a very hard look at this story and making it gritty and set in the later part of the 20th century.
Just full of orphans.
Yeah.
Orphans everywhere. I mean, it's really the Annie
can't
of it
swing
all.
A cat without hitting one of them, it's just ridiculous. But this is it's interesting because it's so cheery. I don't feel like Victorian era or Dickensian era England is often portrayed as happy or cheery. I feel it's often portrayed as very grim and nose to the grindstone. And
we just kept joking around about Sweeney Todd vibes.
It's very Sweeney Todd vibes.
Yeah.
I do believe I've decided these take place in the same universe.
Sweeney Todd and
a Muppet Christmas
down the street.
Not
down
just
the street.
Wait. Muppet Christmas. Those pies are full of Muppets.
Yes.
I want the meat pie song, but just with references to Muppets.
Okay, so that means
Saints and awful.
So wait. Okay. If we were to cast Muppets as Sweeney Todd characters, who would be who?
That's fascinating.
Right? This is
so here's the thing.
Yes.
I think you could make a very cheap guess and say the Count could play Sweeney. I know the Count is Sesame Street, which
Sesame
we
Street
talked about.
Famously different casts.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that they are so separate.
Except for Kermit. Kermit is the only is the only cast member that goes between the two worlds. This is the hill that I will die on. The Sesame Street are not Muppets.
But the guy who plays the voice for the Count voiced the Ghost of Christmas Present in this film. I think we should refer back to the casting of The Christmas Carol, where they picked Gonzo to be Dickens because, quote, he's the least likely character to be Dickens. Which I think is great.
I think it would have been, it is a very interesting choice to
imagine Fozzie Bear as Sweeney Todd. Just... doing terrible jokes while slitting throats.
Connor just looks like he's
You guys don't understand that.
What you need. That's what you need.
Delights me so much. That tickles me to my core.
Yeah.
Okay. So Fozzie as Sweeney.
As Sweeney, yeah.
But Mrs. Lovett has to be Kermit or Gonzo in drag.
Yes, 100%.
Ew, okay, all right.
Because
I agree.
Miss Piggy has to be Joanna.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Miss
I was
Piggy
gonna
has to be
say. Yeah. No, I agree.
But the most dramatic Joanna you've ever met.
Exactly. And at some point, she kicks the judge's ass.
Yes.
Because she's a black belt in karate.
It's so good. And I would just like to state for the record that I am Rizzo the Rat always. I'm an aspiring Gonzo, but I am actually Rizzo the Rat. It's tragic, but it is true. And you're Kermit?
Mitch would be Kermit.
I suppose.
Well,
I don't know
the whole idea of
you
Kermit.
wish you were an animal.
I
but
guess
you're
Kermit
actually
would. Kermit does play. I don't know the show well enough. The young sailor.
Kermit would be Anthony.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why Joanna
I'm
is
sitting
also
in the
Miss
wings,
Piggy.
man. I don't know their names.
But also,
I'm sorry.
so also like the whole Kermit of it all. Kermit is like meant to be
The everyman.
Like the everyman. He's
Yeah.
very much the straight-laced character.
Yeah.
And of this podcast, you are definitely the Kermit.
and in my life.
All right. I'll take it. Sorry, no, but all of this is reminding me of another thing that we talked about while watching. The Muppets ensemble is so vast,
sprawling.
so there is always a part for
many,
everybody.
yeah.
Sam the Eagle is in this movie.
Yeah. Sam the Eagle's
who
the judge,
else?
obviously.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right?
that's good.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
There you
fully.
go. But that's what I mean. Like you can. It's
I
so
feel like-
funny to me that you can overlay the Muppets onto almost anything.
lot
It
of things.
seems.
Yeah.
And find a way to make it universal or approachable to both adults and kids.
Yes.
Which I think is why I think we were all drawn to doing this for the episode.
Right. Sure.
Despite the fact that it's not maybe a traditional musical.
It's also just so fun because, like, I don't know, it's Christmas, and why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Muppet Christmas Carol is so fun and silly, and we like had so much fun watching it.
We
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
We did have a great time. I just feel we need to bring this up. We were just discussing about how unsettling it is to see a Muppet's legs.
Yes.
And we see a lot of them in
You
this
get a
movie.
lot of
So
Muppet
many,
legs.
like,
Yeah.
a lot.
Legs.
I was impressed. And they are in breeches, so like bless for that.
Yes.
But it is and I was telling Connor, I think it's because you can tell that they don't bear weight, and you can sense that about them.
You can
that
tell
they're
just by
useless.
looking at
Yeah,
them.
they're not doing anything.
You
but,
know it's a lie.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there's something about the way that it reads. It's not just knowing that they're puppets. It's like, because I know Bert and Ernie aren't Muppets,
Right.
But you saw their legs a lot, or you did see their legs at
Right.
least. I can definitely remember Bert's legs, and it felt like they were holding him up. But when I see Kermit like hopping
Skipping down the street.
like
Yes.
those are nothing.
Those legs.
Those won't do
are
anything to help
The
him.
one that was for me, it was Fozzie's legs. He's like standing out trying
Yeah,
to
when he's
welcome
like-
Scrooge
yeah.
into the Christmas present party,
Yeah.
and you're like, and you see this little bear standing in the doorway, and you're like, that is so
His legs
not.
don't
His
work.
legs are fake. If there's
There's a
anything I
hand
know about
holding him up.
Fozzie,
Which-
it's that his legs are fake.
Fake ass legs. Fake ass.
But that's
legs.
not
Fake
that's
ass
not a
legs.
complaint on the.
No.
we kept coming back and
No,
being
that's
like,
not puppet
you can tell that this movie is
construction complaining.
right, but you can tell this movie's shot on a soundstage. You can
Yes.
see when it's a puppet,
Sure.
whose legs don't technically
Work,
keep him
as one
upright.
might say.
But it's not like you're forgiving it. It's still endearing. It's somehow still. You want to keep watching it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's so special too because like what you brought up at the beginning when we first started and we had our charcuterie plate down.
Such meats.
We were getting our drinks together and Mitch
It's the Christmas
where
spirit.
we had started the movie and Mitch just goes, "When was the last time you saw a movie with opening credits?"
Right.
And an overture.
Yeah.
Like it's so charming to watch and like the thing about Jim Henson, which I've like talked to you both of you about because I read his biography last year, was that they were very much in the artistry of everything and like creating these worlds. And when they made the Dark Crystal, like they made all of those sets on
in
that
the studio,
soundstage.
in the Henson
So
studio.
like when you
Dream
look
job.
at, like literally like when you look at the Muppet movie, like everything that you see on screen is pretty much handcrafted.
Right.
And you
right.
can tell that
So
there's so much
crazy.
love and artistry that's put into that.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does bring something a little bit extra to this, to the movie.
It's love of the craft that you're doing,
Yes.
love of truly just making the art, which I think is sort of, I don't think you get that warmth in a lot of new movies. It doesn't feel like a cash grab.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's a project of love and people who are working really hard to make something incredible and to bring the story of A Christmas Carol to life, while also infusing it with classic Muppet humor.
Muppet shenanigans.
Yeah.
So many shenanigans.
Half of the shenanigans are happening when you're not even paying attention to
Totally.
it, and the other half you are paying attention to it and you're laughing all the way through it.
And it goes
at
unremarked on. It
Yes.
doesn't affect the reality of this. It's, it's like right at the beginning, Connor, you were saying it's one of your favorite jokes where we're introduced to Ebenezer Scrooge and all of his bookkeepers are little rats
They're
that
all
are
little
working
rats.
away
Just, like,
in his
going.
very cold store because he refuses to put a fire on.
Because it's expensive for coal.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's in the text. We'll get back to that. But like, this is all so faithful.
Yes.
And Scrooge is like, well, okay, see how cold it is, essentially, on the unemployment line. Like, see how you'd like that. And all the rats, their clothes explode off of them, and they're turned into like luau girls.
They fully are wearing Hawaiian
Like
garb.
island
Like
wear.
they have the straw hats and
Yeah.
everything, and they're like, heat wave, and they start doing luau dances and like singing a like song from Hawaii, and it's the funniest fucking part of the movie.
So good. And it's just a one-off, maybe like 10-second joke.
Literally.
And then it's right back into the gravity of it. Cratchit fighting for a day's pay or a day off, and Ebenezer Scrooge.
And setting up Michael Caine being Scrooge. Like, this is where we have to kind of not hate him, but understand
he's a bad guy.
You have to
how
understand that
dark
he's
and
not a
black
good
this
person.
character is.
For sure. And we were discussing how it's shot is so. Mitch, you were saying that you can remember these scenes being scary for you from childhood.
Terrified as a child. Absolutely terrified.
And I think that's really important. I think that's great. To such a great use of the set and
for sure.
camera angles and lighting to bring sort of an ominous. It's not horror. It's not so scary that a little kid can't watch it. I think that's so interesting. I don't know, Connor, if your niece, how old is your niece?
She's 4.
She's 4. Okay.
She's very much, it's kind of a trick right now. She's very much of the age where she doesn't like anything with conflict
Yes.
in it.
I was just going to say, so
so she could not watch this.
Yep, we have a lot of 6-year-olds in our lives currently, and but 4 too, where it's we got to skip past the scary part. Oh, it's scary. I don't like it. Or you have to kind of tell them everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
Don't worry. This person is going to be fine. It's scary right now. So I think that's so interesting. Because I bet it was scary when you were little watching that.
Absolutely.
But I also think that this is like such a great.
But the Muppets are there enough that I think it injects some
because you
levity.
have the Muppet humor, because like some of the scary parts are really offset with like at the part when Scrooge is coming home for the night, right? And he's like that was when we started talking about like, oh, this movie is kind of scary. It's shot with like really ominous lighting and the scenery like that
Off kilter angles,
exactly,
and shot through a railing on a stair.
Yeah, to make it look like he's kind of behind prison bars and like that kind of thing. But you still have at the same time Gonzo and Rizzo like just doing
trying to get in just so that they can narrate.
Exactly.
Like,
Gonzo trying his hardest
to narrate, and then Rizzo is like digging in the background, and Gonzo's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I hid some jelly beans over here." It's amazing.
It's great. Or when Scrooge finally gets upstairs, and he does the thing we all do when we're home alone and we see a spooky thing in the corner and we freak out. And they're like, oh wait, nope, that's just my coat.
Well,
Sorry.
and again, that's a whole paragraph in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they talk about him being kind of paranoid and walking through his house. Like it's very faithfully done.
It's extremely faithful.
But then it's offset with, oh no, there's an apparition. Oh no. And then it's Statler and Waldorf. And they're just like shooting the shit and heckling him. And it is scary because that's the whole point of Marley, is supposed to be scary. But at the same time, it's Statler and Waldorf. So like, how scary is it going to be? They're assholes.
Exactly.
Right. I remember
it's less
being
scary
relieved.
and more like, bah.
Yeah, they're like, whoa.
I remember being relieved when they finally pop up.
Exactly.
Because
absolutely.
up to
It's
that
familiar.
point,
You
it's,
know them.
you don't know what's coming. And then you're like, oh, they're just Muppets. Like, it's okay. They're Muppets.
Exactly.
You can still be part of the scary, quote unquote, part of the story.
And reading about the production notes, interestingly, when they were first discussing casting this, they were talking about Scooter to be the ghost of Christmas past, Miss Piggy to be the ghost of Christmas present, and Gonzo or Animal as the ghost of Christmas yet to come. But the idea was scrapped in favor of the new Muppet characters that we see in the actual film, to kind of underscore the ominous nature, to bring a little more dramatic flair to it, so that kids aren't like, oh, it's just Gonzo being the ghost of Christmas future. Like, I think that sort of would undercut the moment, the lesson of it all. Instead, they have this creepy, like, proto-Dementor type thing, hooded, faceless figure that just doesn't speak. Like, you would lose some of that with Gonzo, the chicken lover,
exactly,
with a blue nose sticking out of the face of a Dementor's costume.
Exactly. Very funny. It's very funny, but it does undercut the nature of it a little bit.
Also,
so,
like, I'm obsessed with that.
But also, I want nothing more than to see that.
I want to see Gonzo as the ghost of Christmas yet to come.
Varying levels of Muppets.
Yes. But that again, it's the whole balancing of the Dickensian story.
I do, and that's the thing. I
Muppet
do love some of the. We were talking. I can't remember specifically what, but. Eddie Redmayne before there was Eddie Redmayne, basically.
Playing Scrooge's nephew. I was like, the role Eddie Redmayne was born to play. Truly. And Connor, you said curly hair and an overbite, which, I mean. I'd like drag him all the way to hell.
But that's what I mean. Like, the inclusion of, I guess it's technically just three human characters. Is that true? Scrooge, his nephew, and his fiance, and the
Scrooge's lover.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's 4.
And they're sort of humans throughout in the background, but no one at the forefront except for
those 4.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, like, while the Muppets are doing Dickens, the only character who never steps outside of Dickens is Scrooge.
Correct. I think. No, there was a line at the end that we were like, I think that's not Dickens.
Oh, no, it's Fozziwig's Rubber Chicken Factory.
Oh, yeah.
Old Fozziwig's old rubber chicken factory.
This is one of my first jobs. Just Michael Caine, a respected Shakespearean actor, prolific, 70-year career. You said delivering the line. Face. Oh, this is my old boss, Fozziwig's rubber
chicken factory. Oh, you don't say.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
But I think other than that, What really made me laugh is that you can tell how old Michael Caine is now because you both were insisting that he is like 30 or 40 in this movie, and he's 59.
He's 60 years old.
No, he's late 50s. No, I'm telling you, he's older than that. And you guys were like, no, look how young he looks. But he does look really young.
It's the Bernadette It's the Bernadette Peters principle.
And also because even though I think we all have parents who are now getting to be that age, we're all still like in our brains like, oh, 60's old. It's
Right.
not,
No,
to be
no,
clear.
no.
But it feels like it should be old.
Right.
And so we're like, well, he doesn't look 60. Look at him. He barely has a wrinkle on his
He's
face.
running around with a bunch of Muppets.
is-
He can't be
He
60.
is earning that
It's
paycheck
crazy.
with those Muppets.
I'm telling you, man. He looks great.
He
He
looks
looks great.
amazing.
It does.
Michael Caine, you heard it here first, looks amazing.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Also, I feel like, again, yeah, I was reading Wikipedia before kind of digging into it.
Okay.
And he did, I think, one of his not contractual agreements, but he was like, I want to play this very straight lace. I kind of have to be the straight man of this Muppet
Scrooge
rendition.
Can't be funny.
No.
Scrooge can't be
cannot be
funny
the-
in
the
this.
comedy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think he recognized that enough to really latch onto that
Yeah.
and then play it straight until the last third, let's say.
Yeah.
I think it makes the jokes hit better.
When
so
they
much
come
harder.
solely
Yeah.
from the Muppets. Yes.
Yeah, because he is. I don't know. We were discussing this also during the film, where I think a lot of people don't have context for when they read things like Dickens
Right.
or Shakespeare, and sometimes you can miss the joke. But things like "There's more gravy than grave about you."
Such a good
That's
line.
such a good line,
So
and
good.
it is that's a laugh
That's
line. That's
exactly.
funny. But I do think that can get lost in context, and it's so nice when you see a visual adaptation or any adaptation that recognizes that there are jokes inherent to the original. What's the word I'm looking for?
Source material.
So the source material.
Yeah.
Thank you. And plays that up. The Muppets does that and also adds just insane Muppet humor.
But
guys-
brings like the Muppet
Fozziwig's Old
canon
Rubber
Yeah.
Chicken Factory.
to that as well.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like the characters are very much fulfilling their like role within the Muppet.
It kind of
universe
reminded-
as well because like you still have Miss Piggy, like even though she is playing Bob Cratchit's wife, she's also still
Still full
fully
pig.
Miss Piggy.
Yeah,
Like
it kind of reminded me of like I started thinking about Moliere, like
Oh my
or
God.
Commedia dell'arte of like this like cast of characters
Yes.
that are always going to be in every show
Yeah.
and how
The
highlighted
archetypes and all
or
that,
not
yeah.
highlighted they are. Yeah, exactly. Archetypes is just going to depend on which story you're telling,
mm-hmm.
and the Muppets like really kind of find like they hit that stride so well every time. It seems
Yeah.
like to me. I'm biased, but
No, I
I
agree.
fully agree.
Yeah.
I fully agree.
they're able to inhabit any story and still stay true to it.
You guys, the Muppets are high art.
We love the
We
Muppets.
love the Muppets.
Let it be known.
Listen, I
Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm just skimming the
obsessed.
wiki, and they originally approached George Carlin.
Interesting.
But then later offered
That
it to
would've
Michael
been-
Caine,
Yeah.
who said, "I'm going to play this movie like I'm working with the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Right.
I will never wink. I will never do anything Muppety. I'm going to play Scrooge as if it is an utterly dramatic role and there are no puppets around me."
But at the same time, like I feel like you can hear him saying that with a little like smile out of the corner of his mouth, because otherwise he wouldn't have done it.
Exactly.
100%.
But like the whole thing is that it fucking works
Right.
so well because him playing Scrooge to such a high level,
Right.
Yeah.
with the Muppets is like, yes, it brings, I feel like it brings that extra like heat that makes this such a good adaptation.
I can't. I'm gonna misquote this, but I just know there's some quote about comedy is like the worst day of the person involved's life.
Yeah.
Like that has to be the core of it. And everybody else has to be laughing. And Michael Caine at the
Yes.
center of a circle of Muppets.
Truly.
Yeah.
That's
And,
what makes it work.
I am-
That's what
yes,
makes it work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, like you said, the humor can't come from Scrooge already.
No.
Yeah.
So like it works on every single level. It's great. You guys.
I
this
love
movie-
it.
This movie is so good.
I love it so much.
It's so good. I love every second of it.
Yeah, we had a really great time watching it. I think sometimes I forget how funny the Muppets are Because it is.
Well,
it's
it's
not
easy-
for children, but
Yeah,
it is like
yeah.
for kids.
This came up with our discussion about the fact that it's not blue, that it's so clean. It's such
extremely well written.
It's
humor.
very witty. It's very but it's very clean. And you have to in order
like
to
the lamp,
avoid
not the rat.
like the ram, not the rat, like the ram, not the rat. Like it can be I guess not stupid, but it can be like kind of
It's zany. It's
silly.
Zany is a great-
but it's also smart and like a lot of wordplay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's enjoyable. It doesn't feel really screamy or relying on like bathroom jokes
Yep.
or absurd. Sometimes I think zany is a good way to describe it versus I don't know if any of you have watched any Nickelodeon shows. But I think they could best be described as absurd, like, but random, like 2012 random,
Ooh.
where they're just like a llama in a scarf. Like, that's not a joke. That's just a combination of words.
Right.
And I think the Muppets do a good job of actually setting up jokes and funny comical situations.
Yeah.
It feels still somehow like vaudevillian to me.
It's very
you know, but like,
yeah.
I don't know, just smart.
It's
and
slapstick,
fast and,
but not like so. Light the lamp, not the rat. Then the Rizzo catches on fire. Gonzo pushes him into a bucket full of ice and pulls him out, and he is frozen solid.
Yeah, Rizzo is a rat.
Right?
Yeah.
A rat.
And Gonzo walks into this house and then just slams the rat popsicle onto the table, and all the ice falls away. And Rizzo just gets up and goes, "I suppose I should thank you for that," or something like, or I guess I should be grateful to you for doing that. And Gonzo's like, "You're welcome." Like, it's just so good because.
And then we move on
it's
right
done.
into the
Never
party.
Spoken of again.
And like you said, near the when we were with the Ghosts of Christmas Present, they're at Bob Cratchit's house, and Rizzo has already fallen into the house through the chimney,
and like onto a fire.
And like Gonzo is trying to get to Rizzo. And you talked about how like there's this whole idea of the Muppets always have to adhere to the physics of the world, even if they're not part of the scene.
Exactly.
Right.
Literally nobody is
He can't walk
acknowledging
through a door.
them.
He can't walk through like a window.
Exactly. He has to go through he has to wait for Bob Cratchit to open the door so that he
To
can
sneak
sneak into the door behind Bob Cratchit. And even though everybody sees him do this, no one is going to acknowledge on
right.
him.
But
He and
it's
Rizzo
like
have to sit on a shelf with a bunch of busts, and all the busts fall off the shelf, and it's just a passing. I've been meaning to get that fixed. Like, it's so funny.
the rules of the world are like so fine tuned.
Exactly.
That it's just
And
it
that just
comes
speaks
out
to
so good.
That just speaks to Jim Henson's artistry, the
Yeah.
artistry
Yeah.
behind the Muppets, and again that love and that respect for the art that they were creating.
Totally.
Or
I cannot wait to read that biography.
Oh,
now
yeah,
that I
no,
know you,
I
like
think
you're
you
like,
guys
oh,
are
it's
gonna
so
really like
good.
it. Yeah.
I have to go find
we'll
it.
link it in the show notes.
I fully started crying when
Yeah.
because it starts with a little bit like about it starts with him working on Sesame Street. The foreword is about you guys have probably seen the clip where the little girl is saying her ABCs with Kermit, and then she keeps saying Cookie Monster instead of like the next letter.
Yeah.
And it talks about like how Jim was getting really frustrated, but also like he understood that it was like this little girl was just so excited to meet Kermit.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was reading this on a plane like back to Chicago.
I'm
at
crying.
One point,
I haven't even
and I
read
started
it.
crying. It was like so sweet and heartfelt, and it's like it's a really good
but it
Working
feels-
with kids just takes such a like to be able to do that day in and day out, to work with and write for kids. I think it takes such a patience to understand like how kids think.
Yeah.
And to understand that sometimes kids just think that's really funny.
Yeah.
To repeat one word over and over
And
and over
it
again. And
is really
It's so funny. And that's the thing
But
with
as
Jim
an adult,
Henson.
you're like, I have this objective. I need to achieve the
Yes.
objective. And so for him to go, okay, I do need to film this television show.
Right.
Like, this is important. There's money riding on this. Like, this actually does need to get done. But to take the time and not let his own frustrations
Right.
sort of slip through and affect her, and like just let her do what she wants to do, and then we'll get it done or we won't, you know.
Yeah.
I just think that's really cool and really shines through his other work.
And that's really one of the things with Jim Henson was that he like fully took that that mentality with like working with children, but then he also like, because I said earlier, he wanted the Muppets to be like for adults.
Yeah,
he
of course.
fully like made the Muppet Show to be adult comedy that the whole family could
Exactly.
enjoy. It's not
The
just
adults should
for
also
kids.
be entertained.
Yes, the adults should also be laughing. And
100%.
the kids will be laughing as well, but they might not get the full joke.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. That is some of the best comedy.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, if you're working on that many levels,
Right.
then you've got to be doing something right.
Exactly.
It seems.
One second. I have a really good quote from him that I took down from the biography.
Well, while you're looking for that,
Yeah.
let's take a quick break. Connor,
Yeah.
quotes.
Quotes. Okay. So this is a quote.
Whoa. No. That was so drastic. Connor! Quotes.
Got it.
Jesus
Quotes.
Christ. Coming in hot out of the break.
That's how
My
we go.
God.
Welcome back from the break. We're here on this holiday episode.
I'm going to
of
fade that in. I'm just
Bits
telling
of
you,
Broadway.
listeners,
I'm doing the
right
intro.
fucking
work.
now.
We're
My
doing the work.
God.
It's like
You are no Michael
it's like
Caine,
he's
sir.
behind the mic and we get shit. He's in front of the mic. We get shit. There is no
Constantly.
winning.
There's no pleasing this man.
There is no keeping you two on track.
That's true. That's actually true.
And honestly, jumping off that point,
Just like
Segue.
although I was thinking about on the break about how the Christmas Carol version I'm familiar with is Disney, but I don't remember anything other than the fact that Goofy played Jacob Marley.
yes, he does.
But that's all I remember.
And-
And I think Duck. I think
Donald Duck is Fred, the nephew.
yeah, and is it Scrooge McDuck playing
Scrooge
Ebenezer
McDuck.
Scrooge?
Duck.
I think that's right.
Like
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like
And
missed
And
opportunity.
Mickey is Cratchit. Yeah. Was it a movie? Is this a book?
It was an animated movie. They did an animated adaptation.
Yes. Now I'm recalling on VHS.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I still own it to this day.
Okay, classic.
Yeah.
Can't believe you didn't bring it.
Oh my god.
Connor, you were going to are these Jim Henson quotes?
So one is a quote about Jim Henson
Okay.
and the other is a quote from Jim Henson.
Okay.
The one about him is at a point in the book they're talking about like the way that he approached comedy, and the writer of the biography says even a 5-minute comedy romp, no matter how absurd, had to mean something.
Love that.
I know. And that's just like about how Jim Henson like approached his work.
That's
approached
so
comedy,
great.
That's really good.
and that kind of thing. And then the quote that he actually said was, "My hope still is to leave the world a bit better than when I got here."
God
just
damn.
crying all
What a
Literally
guy.
sobbing.
What a
Literally
guy.
sobbing.
Yeah.
How can you ever not like watch or experience the Muppets
Yeah.
and not associate that kind of worldview
Right.
with the final product?
I know.
I don't know.
Again, it's that love, it's that care,
Yeah,
it's that
it's-
artistry.
And around this time of the year, don't we all need
Ugh.
that? I know it's sappy, but like for real,
Mitch is cut off.
It's too many gins.
No,
It's
I'm
getting
kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm saying,
more Christmas cheer over there.
oh, you fool!
My-
Oh, hold on. Let's take a pause. Connor's got a refill.
No, it's okay.
I'm kidding. I'm
Go.
kidding.
He's gonna play through. I
I'll
think
just have some more of this meat platter.
yeah, get some more meat in you.
Because I didn't have it.
But hey, yeah, the Muppets. Yeah, the Muppets come from such a pure place, or seem
For
to
sure.
come from
They
such
do.
a pure place with such great intentions.
Yeah,
And
totally.
there's that one. We may have already sort of mentioned it, but the Gonzo saying, "Hey, we're bringing culture to the kids."
Bringing
There's like a
culture to the
throwaway
kids.
line
Yeah,
halfway through.
it's culture for the kids.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
great,
I love it.
but also for adults.
Yes.
Like that joke is for the adults.
Yeah, absolutely. But the kids would also laugh at it, and
Yeah.
that's Jim Henson's
And that's
oeuvre.
Jim Henson.
Now that we've explained the Muppets to you,
Have you guys heard of the Muppets?
You guys know.
just saying.
No.
I do love the Muppets.
Did you want to talk about our 3 moments? Because I don't have 3 moments.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah, I don't think I do either. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, as we were watching,
This is a scary question.
The
I just want to say
Ghost
I
of
might
Christmas
bow out of
Past
this.
takes-
I was just gonna.
I think
say,
just
So
do 3
good,
from
though.
your past. I think, but the Ghost of Christmas Past takes Ebenezer to his childhood home.
yeah,
To
His first job,
or at the old
first
rubber
professional
chicken
at the
job.
old
factory.
rubber chicken factory,
and then takes him to when he breaks up
up with his
with his-
unfianced.
Gosh.
unfianced with his goyle friend.
His unfianced.
his girlfriend, who's like, put a ring on it,
And he's like, no,
he's
I
like,
wanna
I'm
get that
very
money."
busy at work, which doesn't make sense.
Which in
I'm
this
sorry, I
situation,
can't put a ring on your finger. I'm very busy at work.
Okay, in this situation, this is the opposite of Devil Wears Prada, where the girlfriend is actually in the right.
Yeah.
As opposed to when Devil Wears Prada, where the boyfriend is actually in the wrong.
Is actually wrong. Once again, the boyfriends are wrong.
The boyfriends are always wrong.
That's true.
Sorry, Mitch.
Hey,
But it's true. It's tough but true. So we were saying, what are the 3?
I'm sorry I brought this up because I don't have anything.
No,
to
it's
say.
no, it's good.
We
It's
were
a
saying
really
it's an
interesting game.
thought exercise.
Yeah.
Like, what would be the
What
3
are the
moments
3
in your life?
things do you think that have had the most impact on
That
you?
would-
But out of that conversation, it became this like partial like dissection of Victorian Christmas
like
resurgence, and
like,
also
traditions.
just like the pure like enjoyment of Christmas. Not that it's the only part of the season or the most important part of the season, but
Right.
just that if you think back, you take this time and you look back at the 3 moments in your life or whatever,
So
it's a healthy exercise.
Yeah,
It almost feels like I don't know.
So, reader, I would like you during this time to take a moment and just think back to all the times that you feel like Christmas might have changed your heart.
Oh, waka waka! That is the Muppet Christmas Carol in a nutshell. Is like, hey, really think about Christmas and like the good parts of it, and then we're
About
gonna do a
fuzzy legs.
stupid joke about a rubber chicken factory.
Listen, Fozzie is my everything, and I will die for everything.
Oh, okay. Wait. Favorite Muppet.
Okay,
We
yes.
We had this conversation.
Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Mitch, you go first.
Oh, jeez.
Favorite Muppet.
Favorite Muppet is
Can I guess? I feel like you wish it was animal.
no, I would not. Oh, I did say that fucking
That
Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem is my favorite band of all time, and I stand by that. Favorite Muppet is a different answer, but
I think your
Yes, there
favorite
is.
Muppet is either the Swedish Chef or Sam the Eagle.
I would have said Kermit. It's not the Swedish Chef. He's not that.
I
great.
can't
The
go
Swedish
first.
Chef
I
is
can't go
great. He's
first.
got
I gotta
those
think.
real hands.
I love his real hands.
I do love the Swedish Chef's real hands. That is such a good
And his bits
break
are great
of
'cause
the
he always
rule.
just like throws
Yeah.
food everywhere.
Like the hand person is
Yeah.
clearly.
Why Swedish. That's what makes me laugh.
don't-
Why
I-
did they choose?
I don't know.
Is it because they were like a French accent's overdone? Let's
Okay.
mock the Swedes.
Maybe.
Borga, borga, borga.
They probably talked about it in the book, and I was just too busy crying.
I couldn't see.
I couldn't see
My
the
favorite,
tears.
my favorite Muppet is probably Gonzo.
I love that.
But
for
I
you.
do
You did
love
say
Gonzo.
that.
Yeah, you did say that.
I love Gonzo.
Gonzo is your favorite.
I
But
think
why?
he's so
Because
funny.
actually, I don't. Whatever. This is just a
Why?
classic.
I don't know because he's such a little.
He's a
Ding.
goon.
He's
Yeah.
very
He's a
funny.
dick.
I'm not saying he's not funny.
love-
It's just why is he
I
your
love
favorite?
Chicken fuckers. That's why.
Oh my god,
Cut that out.
Jesus!
He's not.
His relationship with those chickens is weird.
Can we? It's Christmas.
You
I'm
ruined
launching
Christmas.
an investigation.
My-
No, he's just like a ding dong. I just love
He
him.
You
is.
just
He's
called
on
him
a.
a chicken fucker.
I mean,
We're cutting
hence
that out.
hence the movie. I guess he is like the most out there
Yeah, he's just
character.
wild.
He's literally an alien.
Well,
if we're
did you
meant
say
to,
that, like Rizzo
Not in
at
the
one point
Muppets,
it,
but-
like says to him like, "Why are you Charles Dickens?" or something like that.
Like, it doesn't make sense that
Right.
he's Charles.
but
Dickens.
it does too. That's my other favorite
Yeah.
part. Is
He's
like
just so
the way
funny.
the rest of it's cast. It has to be Gonzo because
Yeah.
it's funny.
Definitely.
Anyway, so you're going
I'm
Gonzo.
all in on Gonzo.
All right.
All in on Gonzo.
Yeah.
My favorite is Fozzie.
Oh,
I
of
love
course.
Fozzie.
And you said this especially when we started. I know we've referenced the Rubber Chicken Factory 4
such a good
times
joke.
now, but it's such a good joke.
Because the whole thing behind Gonzo is his whole bit is he's like a failed
Behind
stand-up
Fozzie.
comedian.
Fozzie.
Behind Fozzie.
Yeah.
Yes. His whole bit is that he's a failed stand-up comedian.
Right,
And that he
right.
tries so hard to be funny. And I think that is the funniest thing ever. Because he like is always, all of his jokes are told with a wink and a nudge.
Sure,
And
sure.
they're all
Waka
so,
waka.
like, waka waka. And they're all so bad.
They're
and
like
I'm obsessed
Borscht
with
Belt
them.
comedian.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I love him so much. He makes me chuckle.
Yeah. All right. I know it's finally come
It's
to
your
me, and
turn.
I have to. This is how every time we've ever been to a restaurant goes. I don't know. I've been thinking
Don't know,
about it
and
the
then
whole
you
time. I
panic.
promise.
Yeah.
And something
Um,
just comes out of you.
I don't know.
And you're always mad about it.
Yep.
I do in the past, and it's mostly because you make fun of me. But Beaker does really make me laugh.
I
I love that Beaker
I
never gets
love
more
Beaker.
than a passing glance.
Yes.
It just me.
Well, it's because
That's
you
it.
look like Beaker. That's
I know, but that's
Actually, I think he looks like Scooter more.
Well, right now. with
you're
this
probably
haircut,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when you stand his hair straight up, folks,
it's
I'll
bad.
tweet it.
It's
good.
unfortunate looking.
He looks just like him. It's very funny.
I love
But
that.
I also always loved Benson and Beaker.
Bunsen.
Or Bunsen, not
Bunsen
Benson.
Honeydews, the
I
scientist.
also
Beaker's
want to
assistant.
just get on record that I have claimed this before and continue to stand by it. I love Muppets with no eyes. And I think it's really funny when they don't have eyes.
And Bunsen Honeydew
Bunsen
famously has
has
no
no
eyes,
eyes.
But,
eyeglasses.
well, he has terrible vision because he has no eyes.
Oh, and that's the thing. I like the artistry by type of puppet is so good.
I know.
Connor, your love of the cabbage and the grapes
Oh my
and
God,
like
I
they're just always
so-
gonna be there. They
I
don't have names. They
know.
don't need names.
They
It's
don't.
just a pile of grapes talking.
But
It's
even
like
the
us.
variation in like monsters versus real animals
Right.
versus even between the pigs.
Between
so like
food
Miss
or
Piggy
like
looks
inanimate
totally
object.
different
Yeah.
from the three pigs that are outside of Scrooge's house talking
Yeah.
about how he's dead versus like the spider and all the bugs
Oh
Right.
yeah,
versus
all of the pirates.
humanoid pirate
I know the
people.
different movie, but we
No,
were
but
joking around about.
It's the same puppets, just dressed
Yeah.
in different
Right.
costumes.
Yeah, right.
But it's interesting because it's not all like, oh, you're a Muppet and this is what a Muppet looks like, follows this guideline. A
Right.
Muppet can be anything. It just means you're covered in felt and your legs don't work.
Well, that like goes back to the whole opening credits of it all. Is that like when the movie started, I looked at you, Meryl, and I was like, it's so funny that the opening credits aren't the performers behind the Muppets. It's literally
Yeah.
lists the Muppets as the characters
Yeah.
they're playing, where it says like Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit.
There's some level of humility, I think, to that. Where of
Yes.
like, no, this is bigger than Frank Oz. This
Right,
is
like
the
you
Muppets.
know that Frank Oz
This
is
is-
playing Miss Piggy,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Miss Piggy is the character.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Miss Piggy is the actor that's performing. this
Anybody.
role.
Oh, actually, we touched on this, at the beginning of the episode. Anybody can play Kermit.
Yeah.
It doesn't just have to be Jim Henson.
Kermit the Frog here.
Kermit the Frog. Everybody's got everybody's got an impression, how good or bad. And I
Yeah.
would like to say for the record that was not great. But anybody
Wow,
can.
read
That
my
can
performance,
be.
why don't you?
No, me, not you. Anybody can be Kermit the Frog, and it can live
Absolutely.
past.
It's the Rainbow Connection.
Right, exactly. Anybody, the Muppets can be longer than Jim Henson's
Yeah.
life, and that's not in any way a slight on him. That
Not
is
at
like
all. He created something that
can last
will last
forever. You know what I mean?
basically.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It can keep getting passed down and
You guys
reinterpreted and take different parts of literature from all over the world or whatever and still be accessible by everybody.
Somebody, this is not from my own brain. I think this is I saw this on Twitter, but somebody on Twitter once said that they've had so many problems trying to like adapt the Muppets for modern age.
Really?
Like there was that whole series with the Muppets.
It was very bad.
That was like supposed to be The Office.
That show. Yeah.
Where it was like they're a production company and they're putting on the show.
Yeah.
And somebody on Twitter was like, it's so easy. It's right in front of their eyes. Just have it be a Wishbone style story where they're just recreating literature.
Yeah.
Over and over with the Muppets as different characters. It's so
But I
simple.
also think it's the people...
I would love to see that.
I think it's the people... Like, I watched a couple episodes of that Muppets show, and it's the writing. Like, people who are writing it don't know how to write... There
for
were, like,
the Muppets?
weird relationship jokes on it. Like, where Fozzie Bear is trying to... impress his girlfriend's parents. It's just this weird situation,
like
that
not written
Fozzie
well
Bear
for Fozzie.
should not ever find himself in that situation.
Exactly.
It's just a true, and I truly believe this, a fundamental misunderstanding of how to write the Muppets.
Yeah, I get that too.
And so I think that's part of the problem. I mean, I would love to see them redo literature.
Yeah.
I just think that there's something about either comedy today or... Now I'm just getting real broad with it, and I'll never work again.
Marilyn's about to be
as
canceled.
though I ever worked in the first place. It's just, I think people don't know how to write for kids and adults. I think people don't know how to write clean comedy that isn't llama in a scarf, Nickelodeon screaming butts, that kind of thing.
Nihilism.
Yeah, I just don't think people know how to write like that. Not that they don't know how. I don't think people want to write like that anymore. I don't think people see the value in it. And the Muppets don't work without that kind of humor.
Exactly.
There's plenty of shows that can operate without that writing, and they're very funny and they're very smart, and it's great to watch.
Sure. The Muppets is not the only way to do comedy.
Vehicle for that writing.
No,
and I think the problem with the television show was that they were trying to write The Office but make it Muppets, and the Muppets should never be horny.
No.
The only Muppet who's allowed to be horny is Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy. She's very sexual.
She is just like, and she's not even horny. It doesn't make you uncomfortable. You're not like, oh, she's a sexual pig.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, she's just
no, I wish you hadn't said that.
Pig. A sexual pig. She's an affectionate pig.
I know.
She's a pig in love.
She's a sexual pig. It's Christmas, Meryl.
I'm sorry.
Getting back to the Christmas of it all.
Anyway, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think the show suffered from that, and it really is an art. It's a skill to be able to write for the Muppets. I really do think that.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
Literally, Disney. Call me.
I'm ready. I've written so many Muppet fan fictions.
Ready to go.
So many Muppets spec scripts.
You guys.
This has been great. I'm full of Christmas cheer.
Nothing brings the family together
like the Muppets. That's what I'm
Tell your family,
saying.
if you have Disney Plus, it sounds like you can
Don't watch.
You can rent it on Amazon for $3.99.
You can also
buy it on Amazon for probably like $6.
Yeah, it's so cheap.
Own it.
Love it.
You need to own it.
We need to own more media.
DVD copies.
Please let me own more media.
I don't know if I would go so far as I don't have a DVD player. What am I gonna do with that?
I don't know, but
well, once the internet crashes, you're gonna wish you did.
That's true.
That
the
I
internet
wonder.
is just
I do
a
wonder.
bunch of tubes, you guys.
What is it? Okay,
I
we can't
have
get into
heard
this.
that.
we gotta turn this off.
Now
This
it's
is
back to
crazy.
Christmas. No, the episode's about to end.
The
Now
internet
you have to
doesn't
go
exist
back and
on
listen
I don't
to
want to
your
ban into
families.
this because I feel like we all were like
Yeah.
2 thumbs way up.
So many thumbs, you guys.
Man in
The
chair.
songs are fun. Connor was singing along.
We haven't even talked about the songs.
music of it. Yeah,
I mean, the music is like, it's not really like
it's cute.
a musical. It's not a.
I wouldn't say there's a
not
number that
musical.
you really specifically remember
Yeah.
in the same way that you do from a true Broadway musical.
Right. And it also doesn't fall into the camp of movie musicals like White Christmas or
Right.
Holiday Inn or like any of those old like Fred Astaire movies or anything like that.
Sure.
Like it doesn't really fall into that where the music is a real integral part of the movie.
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
said at the beginning, it's very much it's just kind of like their fun little throwaways. Usually part of
I think that's part of the
gag.
source material.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, we can do, we're not trying to get in necessarily into the musical game, but we're able to get into the Christmas part of it and add some songs in order to make a full 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Where I think we talked about that, where it was like, without the music, this is probably a 45-minute
Easily
thing on made for TV movie.
Well, because I mean, the story itself, when like the Dickensian novella is like really not that long.
Yeah, yeah.
It's his
but the music is it's great. It's great to have, but not critical.
Yeah,
we're a little loose with the musical definition. But today. You know what? It's Christmas.
It's Christmas, and that's all that matters.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas. Oh, but it's Christmas.
From our Christmas hearts to your Christmas hearts.
And even if you don't celebrate Christmas,
Yeah.
from our holiday heart to your holiday heart.
Thank you for making our return to to this insane podcast fun and worth it.
Yes.
And feel like we're putting out content that for some reason people want to listen to. This has been such a great. I'm so glad we're back.
Yeah, I am too.
And we are very excited for 2020.
We're gonna have some big plans, and we're gonna do all sorts of fun stuff.
We got good stuff coming down the pike for you. So, all right. Anything else, Mitch? Do you have something to plug?
Do I have something to plug? You know what? The only thing I have to plug is this pretty great movie. It's from the Muppets canon. It's called A Muppet Treasure Island.
The best Muppet movie.
Check it out.
Okay, I can't. Follow us at BitsOverBway across all platforms. Rate and review, like and subscribe. You can find us on pretty much every podcast application. They're in the notes. I'm not going to tell them to you. I tell them every week.
Yeah.
You can figure it out. We love you. Thank you for listening.
Bye. Orphans everywhere. I mean, it's really the Annie of it all.
Can't swing a cat without hitting one of them,